Hi and welcome back. Back in 2019, I decided to chronicle my experience being natural while living in France. I wasn't so successful at that, but now I'm back in France for a bit longer this time, and I'm excited to take this journey back up and share my experience going from living in Atlanta to living in Paris. And thanks to a decision I made a little over a year ago, we get to start this series off with a bang. For my first video in this series, I will be exploring if a hair decision I made in Atlanta was a terrible decision or not, and why I hate my hair, for at least right now. In 2021, my hair was at its longest, and coming out of being home and having a lot more time and money to spend on my hair, what I thought was its healthiest. It was so healthy that I could finally do wash and goes that I loved, and the only problem that I really had with my hair was at this longer state, I often found that the shape kind of fell flat. It hung long in parts that I didn't like, and I usually had to do a lot of manipulation when I did wash and goes, twist outs, braid outs, whatever it was, to kind of make my hair fall in a shape that I thought was cute and flattering. And I figured since most of my trims I did when my hair was either stretched or blown out or just fully straightened, I figured this was why the shape of my hair was so lackluster. And because of that, I thought the next logical step for me was, now that my hair is like at this length and level of health that I'm happy with, maybe it's time to get a curly cut. So go to a curly hair stylist and have them shape my hair so that I could have that perfect fall every time I did any type of like natural style. So by the time I had the money to book my curly haircut, I was a few weeks out from going home. So I figured, at this point, there's no point in waiting several weeks or honestly at that point months to go to the natural hairstylist that I had found in France. I may as well just book an appointment at home, which also to me seemed kind of like the better choice because I had gone natural in my city. There's an abundance of naturals in Atlanta and also stylists that specialize in natural hair. And the stylist that I wanted to go to was booked out for literal months. So I was like, okay, logically I was like, oh, this will be easier just to do it at home. So I booked an appointment for myself and my boyfriend who also has curly hair. So for him I booked a trim and for myself I booked a cut, and I did do extensive research before doing so. So obviously I was at home, so I kind of had to just go through Google and find someone who was offering the curly cut that I wanted at also a price that was within my budget. And I stumbled across a salon that I ended up going to. This is a salon that I later found out that some other curly haired friends had gone to as well. They have a different texture than mine, but when I went on the website, they had lots of photos of black folks with hair textures that looked very much like my hair texture. So I was like, okay, obviously there's gonna be a stylist in there that can help me realize what I'm trying to do with my hair. So that is what led me to booking with this particular salon. As I mentioned before, I wasn't super interested in getting a Deva cut. I had already heard many naturals that had once sworn by the cut express some skepticism of the cut's benefits and the effects of the company's products on their hair. However, when I was looking for a natural hair cut and shape, at the time, most salons really only offered this option. And if they offered another type of curly cut, it was a bit unclear what exactly that entailed, or they operated off another cutting technique that I just wasn't familiar with. This is why I ultimately ended up calling the salon and explaining what I wanted and going from there. When I called, they explained that they didn't use Deva products. The stylist was just certified in cutting curly hair through Deva Curl's process and would be able to give me the style I desired. As I had never been to that salon before, I also didn't know what stylist to book. So the person on the phone assured me that the stylist that came up on the online portal would be perfect to cut my hair. With these reassurances in mind, despite my initial hesitation at getting a Deva cut, which I acknowledge does work for some people, but I've also seen how it doesn't work for others, I went ahead and booked the service. I show up day of appointment with my boyfriend and just have the names of the stylist in mind. No faces, nothing else, except the word of the person on the phone. I was so excited for this that I actually started filming a reel so I could do a big reveal at the end. And all I remember is that my boyfriend's stylist came and got him first, And this is the point where I have to acknowledge that there could be multiple reasons I disliked my end result, some of which a few of you may take issue with, but I just want to be honest. My boyfriend and I had to wait a bit because our stylists weren't quite ready for us. So his stylist came and got him first, also a Black woman. And I was kind of like, oh man, because he had a shorter style. So I was like, I hope my stylist comes soon, because he left before me to start his style and it wasn't going to take long because it was just a trim. And of course, my stylist saunters out. She's the only white woman in the, well, there was another white woman in there. She was working at the front desk. I think it's my stylist's sister. Only white woman in there. So I will say that did cause me to have pause. And I'm not gonna sit here and try to be like, oh, you know, like these are the reasons why. I think that a Black woman in America and anywhere else shouldn't really have to divulge why. Sometimes, yes, we do hesitate when non-Black folks say they're gonna do things like care for our hair, because there's just a really bad history, both past and also present, of non-Black folks in Black folks' head, wreaking havoc, doing damage, okay? And oftentimes just simply not knowing and not bothering to know. Because we live in a white supremacist society, we literally live in a world where some of the biggest celebrity stylists, some of the most highly lauded stylists, such as those that work fashion shows and work with big brands, have gotten by not even knowing how to do kinkier or textured hair. And that there are models who have to style their own hair ahead of shows with big brands during Fashion Week, while their other straight-haired friends have the luxury of getting their hair styled by the stylist that these brands pay for. So that's all I'm gonna say on that. And if you wanna argue about it, argue with your mama. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I really don't, because it gave me pause. But even though it gave me pause, I have had my hair styled before by non-Black folks. So it wasn't complete pause, to be quite honest. I'm not trying to say that just because you're non-Black, you cannot do Black folks' hair. It's just that historically, a lot of non-Black folks, and specifically a lot of white folks, have not taken the time to even learn or care about Black people's hair, textured hair, kinky hair, curly hair. But I have interacted with people that have. So while it gave me pause, I was like, she obviously works in the salon with all of these other Black stylists. And the salon very clearly caters to textured, curly, kinky hair. So she has to know what she's doing to be working here. So I was like, okay, cool. She takes me, we sit down. Her first soft red flag, that wasn't really a red flag until after the fact, was she did spin the first few times. My boyfriend has looser texture than me. He's got very cute low curls. I don't really know how to explain them. I don't fully subscribe to the hair type system, but I would say he probably falls within like a type 3, maybe. So looser than my hair texture, okay? And she spent the like immediate first moments of prepping me for my style, you know, ogling over his hair, which was fine actually. I think my boyfriend's hair is really nice as well, right? And he had just dyed it, it was cute. But she kind of was like going on about it, and he made like little like, oh, his hair was so cool. Like I was hoping I would get to do his hair today and blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, cool, but you're in my head. So like, I'm glad we've gotten that moment to be like, yeah, Brandon's hair is fine. So what are we about to do in my head, buds? Let's get back, let's focus, right? That was a soft red flag that I didn't care too much about until after the fact. And then I was like, did you really like, would you have preferred to do his hair? Because I'm sure you would have done a better job, because it doesn't seem like you really wanted to, or maybe even knew what you're doing with hair as kinky as mine. And my hair is not even the kinkiest. I think I'm type 4, but I certainly am not 4C. Second red flag was as I was being seated, she also asked me, she's like, yeah, what are we here for again, a cut? Even when I booked, I even put a note in my booking. So I'm like, did you not look at this before you came out here? What do you mean you don't know what we're doing? And why are you using the word cut? Cut is strong. Because in my, I explained the whole booking process to you all. And in my note, I made sure to iterate. I was like, no, if we don't have to do a cut, I don't want to do a cut. What I'm really looking for is a trim. So trim off anything that needs to go, and a shape. But I don't want it to be a cut if it doesn't have to be a cut. And I just wish I had have maybe iterated that more. Because she's like, oh, okay, cool, we get started. And she's going to my hair. Another thing she did, I have been natural since I was about 15. So and I'm 24 now, almost a decade of natural hair. I think we're hitting the decade. And I have had a plethora of stylists. And the main things that they have done, especially because of the context of natural hair and being Black, was always to make sure that I knew what was going on, to ask me questions to gauge how much I know about my own hair, and if they have any concerns, to communicate those things with me. The way that this woman was more interested in talking about my boyfriend's hair. And rightfully, she was also telling me about how stressed she was because I got my style literally like less than a week before Christmas. And so it was a very stressful time for the stylist, and I do acknowledge that and I do empathize with that, right? Okay. So I'm like, okay, cool. But we're listening, we're vibing, I'm listening, I'm trying to be engaged. When the time is right, I'm sharing things about my hair and myself with her, hoping that she's listening. But a lot of the comments she made were very kind of like flippant and dismissive and like not very engaged, it felt like, when it came to my hair or any either expressions that I had of like, I'm not sure, or I don't know what to do here. For instance, I shared with her, I moved to Paris this past year. The water is very, very hard and I'm having a hard time moisturizing my hair. Maybe 10 minutes later, she's in my hair and she makes a comment kind of like, oh yeah, by the way, your moisture balance is a bit off. And I'm like, well, yeah, because I told you earlier, I moved to Paris and I've been trying to moisturize my hair, but the water is hard as rocks. She also started in the back of my head. She never did a moment to be like, oh, let me show you like how much I'm cutting off. No. She just goes in there. And I'm like filming my little clips, trying to like get a little view. I know she sees me trying to get a little view. Gives me nothing. We're talking about how stressed she is, which is fine. Fine. Because life is hard. And I am in her chair, so I'm contributing to why she's stressed, right? So she just did a lot of things to where I'm like, even if the cut had have gone okay, I would literally not go back to this woman. I did not enjoy my time in her chair. And maybe also I acknowledge that we're all human beings and that we're not all perfect. And so, obviously we can sometimes catch people on a bad day. As someone who owns my own business, sometimes we just have times where we don't put our best foot forward. But I will say that, as a Black person, our hair and just so many things have always been weaponized against us. And so that is why, once again, I do not judge a Black person who maybe gives pause, especially if their stylist is like non-Black, for instance, because I have had so many stylists that have made sure that this process was like a safe, good environment for me. And for the amount of money that you pay for these services, you deserve that much. And I don't feel like she adequately did that personally. And like, I'm getting emotional talking about it. But yeah, what she did to my head was very frustrating. And I felt like she really was just trying to get me in and get me out. And I also felt like after the fact, my friends and I did a little snooping because she gave me her Instagram. And my friend was literally like, this woman has none of the clients that she showcases on her Instagram, which even that says enough. None of them have a hair texture like mine. So this is editing me jumping in to say that I unfollowed her after my style because I was just so frustrated. And so I had to take screenshots off of the salon's website. But these are the kinkiest textures that I ever saw on her page, ever showcased. And those are just a few screenshots of photos. I didn't want anybody's like face or anything to be included. So these are the best, I guess, examples or receipts I can give you. But this is generally what her page consisted of. This texture or looser. Nothing like my hair texture. If Brandon's a type 3, the kinkiest hair she's done is a 3C, right? I'm at best maybe a 4A, 4B. And so even if she has done type 4 hair, there's no representation of that even on her page. So I feel like that says enough. And with my less than satisfactory experience, I cried in the parking lot. And I felt so embarrassed leaving that salon. And she just did not care. It just didn't feel like she cared about me as a client, which is fine. I just met the woman that day, but I'm like, I felt like some effort could have been made to have like made me maybe understand what's going on, understand why she cut so much of my hair off, communicate with me. I don't know. I'm having a hard time articulating and trying to keep it concise. And I even wrote a script, and yeah, like it's still really challenging because like, oh my God, like it makes me emotional. It was very frustrating and I've never felt so like disregarded, it sucked. My hair like hasn't been the same since.
Is it me? Am I the drama? I don't think I'm the drama. Maybe I am. Am I the villain? I don't think I'm the villain.
So the next possible reason is me. Was I not taking care of my hair as well as I thought I was? Maybe my hair was not as healthy as I thought it was, and perhaps she was within her full right to have cut off as much of my hair as she did that day. So I did have two factors that contributed to my hair not being at its peak healthiest. The first happened in May. So I had the opportunity to do my do-over graduation, and I decided to straighten my hair for the ceremony. I went to the stylist I normally go to. She specializes in natural hair, and she straightened my hair before, and you know, I trusted her. And honestly, I just think it was a matter of like, you know, she got my hair real straight, and my hair was a bit damaged after the straightening process. However, and you can see this clearly in the photos, this damage was only relegated to a few front pieces in my head. Hairs that get stretched out the most, I always wear a middle part, and so I was aware of the existence of this damage and also aware of the likelihood that like these hairs would have to be cut. But that didn't exactly bother me because I'd been aware of it since literally June, and so I was like, eventually these hairs are gonna have to be cut unless I want to keep trying to painfully grow them out. The second factor is that my hair just wasn't as moisturized as it normally was since September when I moved to France. As I said earlier, and as I shared with her, even though I don't know if she was actually listening, I was having a hard time keeping my hair moisturized because I was adjusting to the very hard water in Europe. And it was resulting in like a flakier scalp, drier hair overall. However, I'm including pictures from like just before I straightened my hair in May of 2021 all the way up to the day of my appointment in December of 2021. The rest of my hair still was really healthy. My hair shrunk up just fine. I think that my hair was really gorgeous at this point, honestly, and even leading up, although I wasn't able to keep my hair as moisturized as I had in the past. I still thought it looked good. The last thing that I did that I think was absolutely a mistake, and I have no idea why I did this one thing, was I did also stretch my hair. Not a lot, but I stretched my hair right before the appointment. So these are photos of the day before I had washed and like just done a wash and go to go to a dinner date with my boyfriend. And before you go get cuts, they do always explicitly say like, you come with your hair washed and in a wash and go, but in its most like shrunken state. I did my wash and go. I don't think I stretched it for dinner. Maybe I like blow dried the roots a bit, but that was it. But for some reason that night, I decided to do my usual like banding method. And you can see in the photo, like my hair looks like stretched out and a bit weird because I did that. My argument still stands that I wish she had have just said a little bit more to me or kind of given me a roadmap of what she was planning to do. I really do feel like she had no right to just jump in my hair with those scissors and just do whatever she wanted to and not really communicate with me. And I also wish that I had have asked more questions. I trusted her that she was going to do the style properly, and you know, I had talked to them on the phone. Like I felt like I had done enough, but I wish I had been a bit more skeptical and perhaps asked more questions and been like, okay, so like how much are you taking off? This is, you know, I don't want this to be a cut, just reminding you if it doesn't have to be, and if it has to be a cut, can you please explain to me why? I wish I had have done more, and I wish I hadn't have let myself be so shy and so flustered and like advocated more for myself, because I just don't think what she did was very fair, and I don't think it was great practice as a stylist. And that brings us to the third and final plausible cause, which is just the Deva Cut process itself. There are plenty of videos out there and articles detailing a lot of people's very valid critiques of the Deva Cut system, and some have come to the conclusion that the Deva Cut process is either we just shouldn't do them at all, they're not for anybody, or that they're not for everybody, and that there are people it works for. However, there should be other options that exist if curly-haired folks want to have their hair cut or shaped, okay? But really, I think looking back on this and all the things that I shared in this video, it probably was a nice little mix of all three factors that I identified. You know, I don't think that the stylist did her best work on my hair, and I am disappointed in that. That it did. The cut and the changes in my hair after that cut, they crushed me. And it was a challenge, and it was a lot more emotional than I expected it to be. And I think you hear people talk about the fact that haircuts are so emotional all the time. And I think a haircut that I wasn't anticipating, like, so emotional, so challenging. This happened in December 2021. It is now April 2023, so it's been over a year. And you know, I'm just now feeling a little bit more confident about the situation. It also is very true, and I was very aware as well of the fact that my hair just wasn't as healthy as it was maybe at the beginning of the year, and I explained those reasons why. So that is fair, and that is also true. And finally, you know, the Deva Cut was not for me, despite, you know, my best efforts. So that is that, right? But regardless of all of that, you know, I really feel like making this video and sharing that story has been super duper cathartic for me, because frankly, what that haircut did and made me realize was that a lot of the things that I thought I had like kind of overcome, I had not overcome. So the natural hair movement came at a really crucial time for me, where I didn't even know I needed it. I went natural not because of natural hair movement, but because my dermatologist told me that I was having an allergic reaction to the perm. And, you know, I was really holding on to broken hair. You know, my hair was like an asymmetrical bob that went like this because my hair was breaking off in so many places due to the perm. And so genuinely shouts out to my dermatologist, because I would have never gone natural had it been for her. And while going natural at the beginning was very challenging, I think it was still an enjoyable process. And then by the time I got to college, I was starting to hit my stride a little bit more, and my hair was getting healthier, and I was getting better at styling my hair. And you know, I think that health and just that confidence in my hair and being able to produce the results that I wanted peaked during that like lockdown period for me. And I was so excited and so confident and so happy. It felt like I was seeing the fruits of my labor. When she cut my hair, it made me realize that maybe a lot of my confidence came, I have kinkier hair, and my confidence came from my hair being longer, you know, and how I still held a lot of those insecurities that I struggled with from when I was younger, that had been imposed on me, and that I had certainly internalized them and maybe not overcome them like I thought. I just, you know, like, I didn't have short kinky hair, so I felt confident because I had longer kinky hair, and that made me happy, you know. And so the year after that cut was super duper challenging. The other thing about it as well was, you know, I don't have great videos because I was just so demoralized about my hair after the cut. So I kind of didn't take that many photos or videos of my hair like the ones that I'm able to show you leading up to the cut, because I just was frustrated with my hair and I didn't want to look at it and I didn't want to think about it. But there were some pieces that were so strangely cut. It was very blunt. They were very weird. And so my hair also just wasn't the same. Even though I had like lost a little bit of confidence having shorter hair, my hair had been that length before because like I told you all, I had a big chop when I was 15, you know, but so I was like, I've done this before, it's not that big of a deal. But what felt more demoralizing was the fact that I think because of the way she cut, especially these back hairs, there were some weird janky pieces to where I still couldn't quite, like, I don't know, I can't get my hair to hang the way that it did in the past. And I was looking at pictures of me from mid-college where my hair was theoretically maybe a little longer than this length, but around this length. And I still couldn't get the styles to look cute and like make me feel good about it. So I still do think she cut my hair very strangely. And I will hold on to that. I don't think she did the greatest job, frankly. And also, because I'm still in France, you know, I have been shocked at how hard it is to make my hair feel moisturized because of the water. I am fighting for my life against this hard water. I'm hoping to get a filter soon to see if that helps. And I also saw some people suggest a shellacking shampoo. But it has felt kind of like no matter what I do, my hair is just not going to be healthy or get back to where it was before. And so why try? And I also don't have as much of a budget as I did during the lockdown period because I'm not working. I'm in school right now. I live in an expensive city. So that has been super frustrating. And this past year has honestly been me just embracing that, acknowledging that, yes, I have grown more insecure because my hair is short. And that's the sad truth of it. I'm frustrated with my hair and I feel like the fruits of my labor are not going to yield anything I'm happy with. And just acknowledging that, not trying to affirm those things, but to just give myself rest. So this past year, I've done a lot of experimentation with protective styles, doing more braids, more twists, things like that. I bought my first wig, things like that. And when I get to the point where I can devote that time to my hair again. I was doing that to get myself to that point, to acknowledge that maybe I just needed a little bit of a break, both emotionally and physically, and then I could come back to it. And that is kind of what I'm hoping that from this video onwards, we'll be working on for the rest of this year. So as you can see, I've been trying to experiment with more natural styles on my hair. And I plan to do a little bit more going forward. I want to really just try to love my hair again, enjoy the process of doing my hair, and just find what works for me. You know, it is okay to want to feel confident and to want to look good with your hair, and if that means that I just want to add extensions to it, that is what that means. But that is what the Natural Enfance series is going to look like going forward. And I'm kind of excited just to embark on it with you all. It's kind of more than a hair journey. It's also obviously going to be like a little bit of an emotional journey for me just to figure all this stuff out. Thank you all for listening up to this point, and I hope you all have a great day. I will see you in the next video. Bye.